Hello, welcome. Ooh, excited for today's live. It's been in the works for a bit. Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining in. Welcome. Hey. How's everyone's day going already? It's quite early, yeah. Welcome. So welcome to everyone just joining in. My name is Unravel with Tolu. If you're just seeing me for the first time, I would be going on live today or speaking on this live today with Dami. She'll be telling us a lot about how to move to Australia as a permanent resident, and I'll be inviting her shortly as well. If you're just seeing me for the first time, just joining in, make sure you follow me, and yeah. Yes, thank you. I'm going to add the topic right now as well. So the topic is how to move to Australia as a permanent resident. I just saw Dami just joined. Hello, Dami. I'm just putting in the topic in here, how to move to Australia as a permanent resident. I'm just typing that up now. Thanks everyone for joining in. Dami, I'll invite you shortly. Just give me a moment. I'm just going to pin that. It's been a while I pinned stuff. Yeah, I'm finding it hard to pin this. Not sure how to do it. Okay, yes, I've pinned that there. So the topic is how to move to Australia as a permanent resident. And I will be inviting Dami now to join us. Let me invite Dami. And yeah, Dami will be joining us shortly. But if you have any questions, feel free to pop that in the chat while Dami comes in. Hey! How are you doing?
Good. How are you yourself?
I'm good. Thank you so much. How was your day? I know you've been working all day.
Good. And what time is it now?
It's literally 8 a.m.
So early.
Yeah, so early. But it's so late for you. I can't believe it's 13 hours time difference.
Unbelievable. Sometimes I've lost touch of what time it is in anywhere. I'm just whatever.
Yeah.
I know what time I am. I can't do.
Yeah, literally on my phone, I have on the world clock app on iPhone. I literally have all the time zones of people that I speak to because I'm I can't be bothered to kind of calculate.
That's exactly the same.
Yeah,
exactly. I did.
Yeah. Yes, I'm really excited to kind of have you on today. This has been in the works for a while, and I'm so happy to be here.
Finally.
I've been following you for time, and I always enjoy your stories when you kind of do your unboxing stuff or kind of share what's going on in Australia. I always love you so much. I don't think I ever skip your story, so
I always.
I just enjoy your content. But yeah, I would just once again I would say thank you for joining us today. We're going to be discussing how to move to Australia as a PR. I know that you had a similar pathway, and I think you'd be the best person to kind of educate this audience on how to go about that. But before we delve into all that, I want you to kind of introduce yourself to everyone to kind of say, just let them know who you are, what you do. Maybe on the content creation space or your day job, whatever. But yeah, I give you the floor.
Okay, my name is Dami. I live in Australia. I moved here with a 3 years plus on a skilled worker visa, and I moved. How do I explain it? Yeah, on a skilled worker visa, I am an auditor. That's what I do. Content creation, just lifestyle vlogs, and I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, you guys should go check Dami's channel as well. Dami's channel has lots of information. I've been there. I've learned so much. I always say that Australia is another country I always dream of moving into. So this is also enlightening for me to kind of see if I can also jump into that process as well. But just to quickly kind of get into what we have planned for today, I just wanted us to dive straight in. I wanted you to kind of enlighten us on what is the best pathway for people that want to move to Australia to come through. So I feel like studying abroad is like the most popular one. But I think now I feel like we're seeing this mass migration from different parts of the world, especially now that people can work remotely. People are trying to move to other places through digital nomad visa. But I just want to kind of enlighten us a bit on that.
Oh yeah, with Australia, there are quite a number, few numbers of routes that people can move to Australia. And like they use numbers. So, but there's the general migration scheme, and then there's, you know, those study route. But with the general migration scheme, is almost like, you know, when you come in through, it's very similar to the Canada express entry. Geez, that was a tongue. Express entry poll, where you have to submit, like put yourself in the pool, have a certain point, and then they like draw that kind of thing. But that's not exactly what it is here. But they practice a 100 points based system, where if you have from 65 and above, you are qualified for express entry, that kind of thing. And the way they do it is they have the 190. I think that's the one that is direct express entry that you can apply to from anywhere you are in the world. And then there's the 189 as well, depending on your, and then with them, it depends on your qualification, your experience, age, you know, those kind of things. That's what they consider. So they have the 189 as well. That is not a direct express entry. You have to come in, you come in as a temporary resident, but it has a pathway to permanent residency as well. And they have the 491, which is similar to the 189. That also is point based, but the difference with that is, I think that you usually would invite people with a lower marks with that one, but you have to be living in a regional area, so they call that the regional visa. So, but yeah, all of these things I've just said from the top of my head. Just I want to put disclaimer out there. I'm no migration agent. I'm just sharing based on what I know, which is public knowledge. So if you want to migrate as well, please invest time in researching and getting the right information. So all of these things I've said now, I didn't even use any of these visas, so it might not be accurate. So, but please check for your accuracy.
Yeah. So what visa pathway did you use?
So I came in through the skilled worker visa, which is my visa was 482 temporary skilled worker visa. Yeah, that's the name of the visa. So basically that's the route, which is you get an employer to sponsor you over here. So I was in Nigeria, I got an employer who sponsored me down here. It's a temporary skilled visa. So and there's a pathway to permanent residency, though not direct, but they are like there's an opportunity for you to get permanent residency.
Yeah, it seems like there are lots of like pathways that are not necessarily like the direct route. You probably have to enter Australia first before you can kind of work your way through. That's quite interesting. I was wondering, on a high level, could you kind of share like maybe some high level requirements? Like for example, with Canada, you probably need IELTS because that would probably take a bit of time, or you need WES evaluation. But for something that will take a bit of time before you get it, what are some of those requirements?
So then, like if you're coming to the general, if you're not using the skilled migrant, like the one I used, you know, the general one, the general skilled migration category, you need skills assessments. Skills assessment, I feel like, is the equivalent of WES for Canada. So the skills assessment is basically looking at your qualification and your years of experience, and they will evaluate it if you're fit to work in Australia. You know what, like if your academic qualification is qualified, like what the equivalent is in Australia and things like that. So that's similar to it, and it takes time, like depending on your occupation, because there are different assessing bodies. Unlike WES, where it's just WES assessing your degree and checking the credibility of your degree. This has, in Australia, for different occupations, there are different assessing bodies. You need to send documents they would access, and they also, you would usually check your years of experience. So you do your what's it called? You do your academic assessment, and then you do your experience assessment. I think these are the two things you have to do. So that's one. IELTS is also a requirement for the general migration scheme. But then again, what I know for sure is you can either do IELTS, PTE. There are quite a number of them
Yeah, the variations of
options you can do. And yeah, I feel like for me personally, I just feel PTE is easier and the result comes out almost immediately. So
yeah.
uh
Yeah, I think in Canada too, we have like similar options. Like is IELTS is not the only one. There's self-pip as well. There are other ones, but I think people just run towards IELTS. Maybe they think it's easier.
mm.
Um, Now that you mentioned all these different pathways, do you think like getting a PR to Australia is hard? And I know for you, I don't know if you considered any other country aside Australia to move. So, what were your considerations when you're thinking of Australia?
To be honest, like I considered Canada, but I didn't have the score. Like I didn't meet up the score to even submit in the because I know I did West. The IELTS I used when I was coming here was the one I did for Canada and things like
Yeah,
that. I didn't just meet up the like the, the points.
yeah,
So for now, I feel like the easiest way, if you have the qualification and the experience, is through the employer sponsored visa, be it Canada. I know like people who have, I know colleagues of mine who got jobs directly in Canada
yeah,
from Nigeria. So I feel like that's the easiest route if you have the required exam, which you're not going to be spending so much money.
yeah,
Because if you're going through the like express entry pool or the other general skilled migration in like, Australia as well, you need money, proof of fund and things like that. But if you're going through the employer sponsored visas, you don't need to have so much. Like
yeah.
the employer would sponsor you, I believe. So
Yeah. So with all those employment sponsored visas routes, how long does it take once you enter Australia and start working with your employer? How long does it take you to become like a permanent resident in Australia?
So with us, we got our permanent residency in, let's say, 3 years, less than 3 years. So we came in October 2019 and we got our permanent residency August 2022. So it was about, although like we applied about 2 years.
Yeah.
So, but it depends on the employer agreement you have with your employer and timelines they put to it.
Yeah.
Some employers will say, oh, until you've clocked your 3 years. Some will say at 2 years mark, we're willing to sponsor you and submit. So getting the PR approved itself takes time. So
Yeah.
it just
Thank you.
depends.
Yeah. Another question I had was like, can people move with their families with these employment visas?
For sure.
So they'll
Definitely.
come. Will they come as dependents, or like for example, let's say if you're married, would your husband have to apply for his own employment visa?
No, 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 no. They come as dependents and they come on your visa. Like I can, and then it just depends on transparency and how you negotiate as well. So from the onset, I remember when I was telling someone like I currently work in Brisbane, right? But I did not apply to Brisbane office. I applied to another office, but that office, when they heard my family size, they said, no. They said, oh no, we don't have a budget for like this number of people because I was going to only go for an employer who can sponsor me and sponsor my family. And
Yeah.
by that, they will pay for my visa, pay for their visa, pay for our flights. Like by the time, um, sorry, I'm just seeing somebody's comment.
Yeah, I see someone commenting. I think we'll get into
Oh,
that later.
okay, we'll come back to address some
Yeah.
of those things. Anyway, so what was I saying? I lost my train
Yeah,
of
you're
thought.
talking about like we're looking at employers that could sponsor you and your
Yeah, yeah,
family,
yeah.
also
So
pay for the visas.
exactly. So they didn't have a budget for me, and then they were like, "Oh, okay, this office that was Sydney. They don't have a budget. Are you willing to go to Brisbane?" I'm like, I just want to japa. Like I don't care. Just send me to anybody that has budget on the family side. So it's also yeah. So most employers they will be depending on their budget. That's another thing. So if an
Yeah,
employer has a budget for you, family
yeah.
side. Sure.
I was going to ask you, since most of these pathways are a bit more quicker and less expensive than the traditional general permanent resident route, I was wondering where would one like find jobs, especially like if you're from another country and you want to move to Australia. It's always tricky navigating like where do you find the jobs? I know people say go on the general like the Indeed or the LinkedIn, but could you
But
share like
sincerely, that's where people find the job. don't know. Like that's where you find the job. But the thing is, it takes time to get this type of jobs, right? Even I tell people like I've been working with the same firm for the last 10 years. But best believe if I go to my personal email and see how many rejection I
Yeah.
got tons and tons and tons of it. And I
Yeah.
was applying to all firms, like all the big four, because I'm an auditor and I have
Yeah.
big four experience, right? So, like, the place to get the job is Indeed, Seek, like just mentioned,
Yeah.
because that's where and then LinkedIn as well. So just keep checking. I feel like people see, for me, if you want to really do this thing, you have to invest time, and like you have to have canine spirits, like it's
Yeah.
going to work out spirit. Because if you apply for 1 2 3 even 10, and you're like, oh, I've been applying, nobody called you, bruh,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna call you. Like, you need to keep applying. And
Yeah.
then also, when searching, be sure like you're searching for jobs with sponsorship. I see people reaching out to say, hey Dami, I'm an accountant. Like, you can't just apply for any job that for the sake of applying.
Yeah.
Most
You
of
have to be
the jobs that,
intentional.
yeah, you have to just streamline it to what you actually need. Even if you do a very simple Google search and just put jobs with sponsorship in Australia on
Yeah.
Google, you'll be amazed at the number of opportunities that you'll find there. And then just be careful, like, of people. Some people are scammers, so
Yeah.
try to do your due diligence as well. Check if you're speaking to anybody from any company, make sure you check LinkedIn, check their profile. They are listed as employees of that company. But trust me, where to find these jobs is on Google, on LinkedIn, Seek, Indeed. And then if there are any particular companies you are interested in, right, you can check their company website as well. Like,
Yeah.
that's so, because I was aiming for Big Fours, right, I focused more on their websites. I go to their career site. So if you're someone who is like aiming to work with Coca-Cola, you're an engineer. I've seen someone that got Australia, like he's an engineer and he got a job with Coca-Cola Australia.
Wow.
So check company website. If there are specific companies you're looking to work with, check their website. You might just be lucky. You never know.
Yeah. And I think people really underestimate the power of actually just going directly on the site
Oh
sometimes to kind of,
yeah, people
yeah.
do. People.
And I think there's also that fear, especially as a Nigerian, where you're applying for a job internationally, you're just like, well, they're not going to take me, that kind of thing, right?
No, that's
But that's the
just the
thing.
limiting factor. Like, don't limit yourself. You'll be amazed. Like, and if you never try, you never know. So, and there's no, like, no doesn't do anything to you. What's the worst that can happen? They will reject you. Trust me. I tell that, see, if you have checked my email before, my personal email, I got nothing less than 50 rejection. But at the end of the day, we got there. So if your tenacity is needed on this journey, like,
Yeah.
you just need to keep at it, unless nothing is gonna happen. So
Yeah, absolutely. Like job hunting is no joke, especially when you're like living in another country. Like it just takes a lot of willpower. I think when I first got to Canada, I kind of one day I just said, you know what, let me actually see how many jobs I applied to before I got my first job. And I realized I applied to over 150 jobs
can you
before I got it, yes. And even after I got that job, I was still getting rejection. And I changed job again, I was still getting rejection. I wasn't applying, but it was from all the applications that I'd applied from the past.
that's
So for people who are like, oh, I don't want to apply for just being a assistant, you just have to put in the work. And as like Dami mentioned, like if you apply to some of these companies that are doing direct sponsorship from your home country, it means that they cover your visa cost, your flight cost, and everything. So I think if there's anything you can take away from today's life, that should be it, and it should ginger you.
Mhm.
Like all you're really paying for is internet to apply for jobs. So
And like
I
that
think
internet,
that
you even use that time to scroll. By
on
then you scroll
Instagram,
through TikTok, scroll through Instagram.
exactly,
That's embarrassing.
exactly,
And seriously, it was no jokes, because then I had all my friends, they were living, right? So we're like
yeah.
at the point where we will stay in the office overnight in Nigeria. Oh God. It's for people now, it's like people that don't know your story.
Yeah,
They just feel like, oh, you just got it on a platter. I know some people even,
yes,
oh, you are so lucky, it's because your parents. I'm like, geez, Nigerian
yeah,
mentality is so nobody knows nobody. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
We'll stay in UBA house overnight just to
Wow.
apply. We can set a target for ourselves. Okay, we're going to do 20 submissions this night, and we will sleep in the office on Fridays and
Yeah,
then go home the next morning. Like, that was how much effort we put into it. It did not
yeah,
just come. And now it's just the opportunity. And you know, sometimes in life, I tell people that opportunity sometimes comes but once.
Yeah.
So like now, I saw Mr. Kapasim saying that the labor market is currently hot, which is very true.
Yes, it's true.
Like now is when you should try. 2 years, 3 years to now, the story might have changed.
Yeah,
And
like the whole world is preparing for a recession right now. So
yes, exactly. So now that the market is still hot, take the opportunity. What am I even saying now? Somebody sent me a message. So there's this lady that's been chatting me on Instagram. I don't even know if she's on the live now.
yeah.
Her husband was in the process of coming to Australia. He got a job offer. They were even meant to do their medicals next week. They withdrew the offer yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so, but if they were already in, there is no way, if God forbid they lose that job, they can easily get another job before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So things are changing. Just make use of these opportunities as they come, because you never know what happens tomorrow.
Yeah. I think I just have two more questions for you quickly. I was wondering, with all the pathways you mentioned earlier about the possible routes, is there like an age limit or age constraint?
Yeah, so I think with Australia, the main age limit is 45 for most of their visa stream.
Yeah.
For the visa, for permanent residency visas, like mainly is 45. The visa we came on, which is the 482, the initial visa, does not have any age limit. So you can come, but the challenge comes to when you want to get the permanent residency that has a 45 age limit. So I think that's it. But even if you are above 45, there is this labor agreement in Dama regions that allow some employers to employ people who are more than 45 or like 45 to 55 thereabouts. Yeah. But then again, like the chances are just very slim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And my last question for you is, now somebody who has gone through this process, gotten their temporary worker visa, and maybe they're allowed to work remotely, what Australian city or province or region would you advise them to go to? So like, where are the best places to live in Australia?
I don't know. That's a very tricky question, because, you know, like I said, we just came into Australia, came to Queensland, lived in Brisbane. I cannot compare it to anywhere else. I've not lived anywhere else.
Yeah.
I'm currently planning to film a video with Chioma, Life of Chioma, another lady. She lives in New South Wales, Sydney, so we can compare. Yeah. So maybe at that point I know, but I love it here. I don't know any other. Like, I love what I'm seeing. The weather is good. I just love it here. So I don't know much about any. See, I just feel like living in Australia is very similar. Like, it's just the weather. The weather here, this place is hot. It's like Nigeria. Mm-hmm. As my parents would say, like, the weather is just like Nigeria. It's very hot when it's hot.
Is it like that all year round?
No. Currently, we are in, see what I'm wearing. Currently, we are in winter, but the winter is not so bad. But it's if you go to Melbourne, it's freezing. Like, I've been to Melbourne, it was like I entered. I'm like, are we not in the same country? Why is it so cold here? Sydney is colder than Brisbane as well. So like, Queensland weather is just perfect. That's the only difference I see, the weather. But every other thing is Australia. Like, it's just one amazing country. So.
Oh, that's nice to hear. I feel like a lot when people hear like, oh, move to Australia, they're just like, oh, there are snakes there. I'm just like, can you be for real? Like, that is that really the reason? Like, there are better things.
Even if there are snakes, see, I want to live here. I used to tell people that I've seen more snakes living in Nigeria than living in Australia. I don't know where that came from. Like, so I don't know where the snake story came from. Anyway.
Yeah, I really don't know. But I was just to wrap this up and put a pin on it. Is there any one advice you give to somebody who is trying to move to Australia as a permanent resident? That one thing that you think was really helpful for you in your journey?
That one thing would be research. Like, I feel like it's not overemphasized. You know, the way people are willing to pay. Oh, I have money. You know, people will come into my DM and say, hey, I have money. Let me pay you. Help me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can take your money and I won't do jack shit. You know, so you need to invest in personal research yourself. I've seen people say a lot of things. You know, the way people will mislead people and you come here. You don't want to come to Australia and be stranded.
Yeah.
They would they will fish you out and send you out. Like, is that easy? So even if you're coming to Australia to study, make sure you check the course you're studying. Make sure you check the route to permanent residency. It's not just enough to. There's some countries where I won't mention where people are like, make you just enter first, just enter.
Yeah.
Australia is not the country you will say make you just enter. You need to understand, like, know what your route to permanent residency would be after the program. If you're coming for school, if you're coming on an employer-sponsored visa as well, make sure you understand what the routes, like, what your route to permanent residency would be. Because what value will it be if you come here for 2 years and at the end of the 2 years, they are saying, thank you, go back to your country. Like, it's just wasted years. Because trust me, when you're coming, you've sold whatever. If you're a family person like us, you've sold all your property, you've moved everything here, and then you become stranded, like you're beginning again. And in 2 years, I don't think you've gathered enough. If you come here as a student, you're spending lots of money, like lots of money, and you don't, I don't know, for people coming from my side of the country, I don't think you want to spend that money and then just go back home. So, like, it's very rare. So yeah, if there's one thing I'm going to say, is just, if you're going to any country whatsoever, invest in personal research. Even if you're using an agent, still do your personal research, because it will help you a great deal. Is Australia, like, this Australia is not a country you can come and just let me just enter. No. Just please do your research. Make sure there are future routes to permanent residency. Have a plan and then work towards it as you're coming in. So I think that's one thing.
Yeah, and I think just to add to what Dami said as well, like, I 100% agree that even if you're using an agent, you should definitely do your research. I think people really underestimate that and just leave the agent to kind of do whatever. Even like it applies to in Canada as well. For the longest, like, the impact of COVID was impacting lots of international students for their pathway to apply for permanent residency. And there's like the most common one pathway everyone uses, but people were not looking at the other pathways they could also consider. And I'm sure people are still struggling to kind of have a permanent footing in Canada. And you can see that in every other country, research is just like the key thing, where like you have to know what you're going to. You have to even prepare for the life that you're about to have. So whatever plan you have in 2 years and 5 years to get to where you're going, you have to do that research from now and have everything you need. But yeah, me and Dami are about to wrap this up now. But I was wondering, did anyone have any questions? I'm just going to quickly scroll through to see if any question came in. If not, we put a pin on this live. I'm just trying to go to the very top to see if there's any question. I don't really think I saw any questions so far, but sorry, we're not talking about Canada, so I'm not answering Canada questions. Just looking in here to see if there's any question. Thank you, Dr. Capacini, for like your interaction in this live. It was really, really great. Thanks for kind of chiming in and getting things going.
Something about national security check. Yeah, so you have to do your police checks and things like that. But like, if it's just Nigeria, it doesn't take time.
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't take time. I was also wondering, like, having a criminal record when you're going to Australia, does that impact your visa application?
Nah, I don't know. Yeah. You maybe just need a good lawyer, an experienced lawyer, to put your case forward in that situation. I didn't experience it, so I don't really know much about that. But then again, I think I've seen Tracy Migration. There's a
I follow her.
Yeah, so Tracy, I've said it before that you need a skilled lawyer, like an experienced lawyer, to put your case forward. But it doesn't mean you won't be granted. But like, of course, you need to package and present it properly.
I don't see any other questions. Somebody was asking for pathway for students in Australia. Unfortunately, that's not really what we're talking about today. We're talking about just the permanent resident route. So that's it. Someone said, can I get a work as an auditor? Yes, that means an auditor.
Yeah, I'm an auditor. You can get, just check. And then also, if you're an auditor, don't restrict yourself to Big Four. You know, we all have the mindset, oh, I want to work with Big Four. Some of us here, we're lucky to get it, but don't restrict yourself to Big Four. Check Big 10, like check the, geez, why did they all escape my brain? I don't know. Check only Big 10, like PKF, Check PKF, Mazars, the Mazars of this world. Just check any of the Big 10 audit firms and just apply. Trust me. They are all looking for people all year round. So don't restrict yourself to Big Four.
Yeah, somebody else had asked a question just on the auditor question as well. How can I get a job? I think we already talked about how to get a job if you wanted to get into the big four. And like Dami said, you don't have to restrict yourself to just that. But I think that kind of wraps up this live. I just want to say thank you again, Dami, for coming on here.
Thanks
You
for
guys go follow Dami, check our page out, go on our YouTube channel as well.
Oh, video, yeah. Thank you, Angela. That's a video, yeah, video. Like, just check any of them. Thank you.
Yeah, go check Dami's YouTube out, go on her page, follow her, and yeah, interact and engage with her and learn more about like the Australian space. I know someone asked a question about nursing. I'm not sure that Dami has an answer for you. Just asking what pathway for nursing. So I think you still have to go the same route as trying to find employment.
And
that's kind of the
if you're a nurse, like I feel like there are some courses you need to take to be able to practice in Australia. Like, so you need to go and check what the requirements are. You need to APRA, yeah. So as a nurse, your skills, you need your skills assessments to be assessed by APRA. So those are the type of things you need to do. But all of these things are like all the information you need about Australian immigration is available on their website. So I think it's immediate.
Do you want to share the website for the Australian immigration page?
Okay, I'm coming.
Yeah, so let's give that a moment. She's trying to get us the link for the Australian page so that we can be able to go there, get all the information we need. And I'm noticing some network issue from our end as well, so we'll see. Yeah, you're back.
Oh no, it was not network issue. I exited to. I don't know if you can pin it, but I've pasted it in the comments.
Yes. Okay, yeah, Dami has put the URL in the chat. It's called immi.homeaffairs.gov.au. So that's where you should go find all the information about like Australian immigration pathways. And I'll also, like we just mentioned, mentioned Tracy Immigration as well. She's also a good resource if you want to learn more about the Australian space. But thank you so much, Dami. Really, really awesome that this happened. And you guys are already shared. Go follow her, check our YouTube out. You can just tap her name as you see right now. Just go on the page and go consume the awesome content that she shares on YouTube and on Instagram. Thank you so much, Dami, and I hope you have a good night. And while I start working.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.